All right, everyone, how's it going? This is John here at Luxe. We're going to tackle the infamous Nissan Maxima 8th Gen taillight here, or try without ripping it. We're not going to use any edge prep or anything. This is a very, very complex light. Let's take a look at all the different areas that we're going to have troubles with. As you can see, sorry, the GoPro's on a tripod. You can see right there the fins that we're going to be working with, and just the awkward shape here. You notice I covered the car in painter's tape so that the vinyl doesn't stick to the paint. It's already going to be hard enough without me having to fight that to try to get this done properly, especially around these tripods. So let's go ahead and start. Went ahead and cut. This is the version 2 Luxe LightWrap, of course. I don't know of anything else that's going to actually complete this task. This is a 20-inch sheet, and it's cut about the length of the headlight. I'm going to take a couple of inches off of it, so I turn it into like a 17 by whatever. It's just a little bit tall, and that's why I taped off the whole car, trying to prevent the film from hitting the car. And the way we're going to do this and horizontally stretch the film, I really don't want to fight it. So we'll do a final wipe here on the light, and then we're going to go after it. What we're going to do, start peeling the backing paper away from the tint. We're going to come past the light where I have a 3 or 4, let's see, there we go, got about 2 to 3 inches tacked down past that piece of tape. That's what we're going to want to do. Let's remove the rest of the backing paper here. Okay, fold this up and just kind of tack it right here so that I don't get any fuzzy or dust in the tint. I don't like to let the adhesive face up ever. Try to keep it like that. I am going to use a tool when I do this job. Let me back the camera up a tiny bit and take a PVC. I'm getting some nice carbon fiber rods in that are thinner than this for this exact purpose. If they work great, I'll cut them to the right size and release them as a helper tool. This is going to help us pull tension on this film without applying any up and down tension. If I use my 2 hands, I'm going to kind of accidentally pull into a triangle. I don't want to do that. So the tint film is completely off the light that we're trying to wrap right now. And I'm just going to start heating it up. I have the heat gun on the maximum setting, but I'm holding it really far away from the tint because I'm trying to do this evenly. You can see it looks really liquid, but I'm able to now stretch the film. You can look at my left hand and how much I'm moving. Now that we've got all this stretch, I'm just going to use this hand to help the film wrap, not really pulling up or down. There we go. That's the first step to this light. Look, we measured a piece of film that was the exact size of the light. I put this much stretch on it. So we've now introduced this much stretch horizontally, probably about 8 inches or so. Move the camera back up. Hopefully we can start to see the memory effect of the vinyl and see why we did that. First thing I'm going to do is try to glass this area out. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the faces of the lights. The pole helped a lot with this. Without the without that PVC pipe, this would have been much, much worse. This isn't bad. I'm able to just barely pull and get all that out. There we go. Go ahead and throw on my wrap glove here just to help my hands slide easier. So you'll notice I don't actually pull out a squeegee and start finaling things down, like applying them finally, until I've got the whole light as glassed out as possible, and I'm really happy with the way the tension's moving. Because it's transparent vinyl, of course, any more tension in one area is really going to show. So I try to get all my stretching done that first stretch, and then any little bitty stretches after that before applying heat. This is that corner that we were looking at that's going to give us a lot of trouble. So that is where we'll first introduce the heat to this job. If you look, I kind of ran a line right to that top edge. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side here. The backside's really, really nice since we pulled around it. There's really very little work we're gonna have to do right there. I do have a little sharp crease here. So I'm just gonna lift up, release it, put it back down with my thumb. There we go. So we're gonna move the camera even closer and try and see how we're gonna tackle this little thing right here. So if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know I'm really big on stretching this way so that the vinyl hugs the top of this light. That's the only way this is ever gonna work, is if the vinyl wants to lay down right here. It's never gonna pull back up on this sharp corner, even though we put a ton of stretch on it this way. It's just not gonna happen. That doesn't make sense. This makes a lot of sense, this makes a lot of sense. So, watch how I tackle this. All I'm gonna do is lift the vinyl off this top ridge, because we have a really sharp angle right here. I'm lifting it off. I'm gonna grab my heat gun, lift the vinyl off, heat it, and just help it down. Just like that. There we go. That edge is down perfect. There's no little micro bubbles in there. And you saw actually when I just moved the heat gun near this whole top part just kind of naturally wants to lay down. Let's pull the film up right here, free it from this trunk area, and just suspend it off the car. While doing that, I'm gonna apply some heat. Look at this. Look at this memory effect. This is the sign of a high quality cast vinyl right here. You can see how tension free this entire area is. All I'm gonna have to do is take my squeegee and just guide it into place. There's no stretching happening. You can see I'm not putting any tension. I'm doing none of that. I'm just laying it down. If you're having to put heat on an edge and pull up to get rid of tension up here, you've approached the project wrong. Just go ahead and stop, start over, and use more horizontal stretch. If you don't, that's gonna lift up on the customer. You can use edge prep to kind of fight that, but you know, really there's a technique to fight that. Edge prep isn't really solving it. It's just helping with bad technique. So look at that top edge. That top edge is incredibly sharp. Let's see. You can see here. Look at that. No tension at the top of that light at all, whatsoever. The back is looking fantastic. The side's looking really good. So we're just gonna back up the camera and continue with the install. Sorry, I realize you can't really see a lot of the details that I'm doing because the lighting in here isn't quite right. But if you just pay attention to the bigger picture and the techniques that I'm using, that'll be a great takeaway. You see how easy the film popped up off that painter's tape? That wax helps it not stick down. When you're doing high stretch techniques like this, that always really helps, because it lets me just hold the vinyl in my hand and I don't have to fight. Now, because the stretch is all horizontal, I do lift off the car and heat this area and let it shrink back up. That'll effectively lock that edge down right past this ridge, and we don't have all that tension to worry about. Okay, again, before we work into this boomerang, we're gonna go ahead and hit this corner right here. Let that shrink up. Use my finger just to apply it real to that sharp edge. Now I'll work my way towards this area, but not all the way. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that area first, just like that. I always work from a corner into a flat area on the edges. The reason is if you work all your flat areas down and then you end up with a whole bunch of tension in the corner, you've just bunched yourself up in the worst place. I'd rather work the corner down and then spread all of the weird wrinkles out over the flat part. The cool thing is with this and some of the other wrap vinyls, unlike tint where it's you know, it's going to shrink in one direction, or you know, left, right, east, west, that kind of thing. We can actually put stretch on this vinyl and control where it shrinks. So it's one extra step you take in the beginning, but because of that, we can do all of this work right here. Now I'm just heating up the vinyl to make those lesions that I talked about go away, the wax backing paper. Just smoothing out the finish. It increases the gloss level. Heat gun is on high. Again, I'm going to come in and lock down these edges. You want no micro bubbles whatsoever that'll remain in the air release channels. Those are points where the vinyl is going to start failing first. This looks really, really great. We've taken care of the top edge now. It all looks fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this bottom and do the exact same thing, because it's exactly the same down here. Lift it off the car, heat it really, really, really good. Heat gun down, squeegee right into the ridge. Sometimes on these lights, like right now, I'm going to have a little bit more problem with this bottom part than I did with the top. Let's see, it may not be the case. Let's find out. Oh no, laid right down. Perfect. If you have to, and you get the top part perfect and you realize that you may have put an awkward amount of tension because you didn't have a pole or something and the top part went down perfect, just put a slit right here at the bottom where no one will be able to see it. It's better to have just a tiny slit down there no one can see than have that corner eventually pull up and spread and then cause the install to kind of be a failure. Okay. We got that perfect, so let's move to the back of the car. Take care of this part of the light. So we also have really, really sharp edges right here. You can see, if we pull this back, hold on. We pull this back here, you can see these sharp edges. This actually goes down about 1/2 centimeter directly back and then gets flat and then comes back out about 1/2 centimeter. So you're dealing with a very like flat valley with sharp edges. And that goes all the way to this weird thing we just applied. So if you can see, I have a sharp edge right here. It's the top of the valley. I've got a sharp edge right here. That's also the top. I'm gonna try to free the vinyl up in the middle as much as possible. It's really only applied like right there. Okay, so now most of this is free floating. That's what we want. What we're gonna do, the way we're gonna tackle this is, instead of like applying this whole flat area and then getting to that corner and putting heat in that corner and pressing, that basically you apply all this, you get to the part you need to apply, you hit it with heat, and then you stab into it, all that stretch is concentrated. Instead, we take it and we heat the whole area up so it's nice and pliable. Take the squeegee and start at the sharpest point of that ridge and run it all the way to the outside. Look, that entire edge just went down perfect, right? It went down absolutely perfect. There's no micro bubbles there. There's now no tension right here. What we did is we spread the tension across this whole flat plane. So it's gonna be a much safer way to do this. I'm gonna go ahead and heat up the rest, start at the top, and do exactly the same thing. Wham. Top part is now locked down. Now just using my fingers, I'm gonna come in here and remember this part is kind of open, so we can use that to our advantage and work all the air out that direction. There we go. Almost done with this light now. The untintable tail light is now tinted and it will not fail. This is going to last long term, 100%. No edge prep, no adhesive, you know, promoters, nothing. Just smart distribution of tension. Good technique. cool thing is, if I'm not talking or doing a video, this has become so second nature that this light can be done in maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. So you're able to take a customer's car, actually have them wait on the job sometimes. But you know, if they have a leased vehicle or they don't want to paint their lights, you now have an option for even the most complex of lights that looks as good as paint or very close. There we go. Now all we got to do is trim. We let the vinyl cool down before we trim. If not, you'll get little jagged edges. I prefer to use a 30-degree blade. You can see I'm just going to start right along this top edge. Same techniques as using a wrap vinyl. You can cut on the side of the fender or the side of the trunk. That way that you have enough light wrap to fully wrap the light, and it will look like a paint-like finish. We don't want to see red edges. Those are a thing of the past.
I'm going to play Billy Joel right after ZZ's on Rachel Steele Classic Rewind.
This red squeegee is incredibly rigid. Sometimes that's not ideal. We actually have these small green squeegees made for us. They're incredibly pliable. They come with all our do-it-yourself kits, but if you need some, let us know. We can send them your way. They make it really easy to get around curved things.
Try and pull all this off and pop up the trunk, and we can trim that.
Remember, we actually started putting stretch on this vinyl way over here. So this vinyl is very stretched horizontally. We're going to want to relieve that before we lock this down, so we don't get any pullback that direction. Which it should be pretty easy to do because we have that nice edge right here. So similar to how we just held the vinyl and let it cling down right there, I'm going to take it. I'm just kind of pushing the vinyl into this, in towards the trunk here, not pulling much, just kind of holding it. So when the heat hits it, it shrinks, but enough. I'm still gonna have to put a little bit of tension to get these corners perfect, but at least I've relieved everything. And I'm not wrapping super deep right here. I'm only gonna wrap a couple millimeters back. You might be able to get super aggressive and try to wrap all the way back. I'd rather, you know, for like comfort's sake, I would rather actually just cut it right here because it's out of sight, and then put a cap piece right on the edge. If you wanted that perfect look whenever the trunk was closed, you didn't see any red. That's an easy overlay. There's no reason to try to work that into the main wrap. So there we go. All we have left to do now is trim this side, and this thing is done. While we're letting this, well, let's see. There we go. I want it perfect, so I'm gonna work every little bit out that's visible. There we go. I'm just gonna run over this one more time, post-heat it, lock everything down. Things are looking really, really good. Final's really smooth. I don't see any spots where the shade has changed, so there's more tension than in another area. Very, very happy with that install. So this is almost cooled, and luckily there's just a really nice casting mark where the plastic changes anyways from the manufacturer. So I'm just gonna trace that. That way our knife mark is completely hidden. It goes right along with how the vehicle was made. And it even kind of makes that black to red transition make sense, because there was already a transition from a different red to that red. So a lot of times when you work with what the manufacturer gives you, you can solve some problems without having to be like a hero and try to nail these crazy wraps that aren't gonna last for a super long time. So let me take the GoPro out of its cage real quick. I can kind of walk around and look at some of the details of this video. Yeah. So let's take a look at this edge. You can see how OEM it looks. Super nice. Look at that. Look at that edge up there. Really, really sharp here. The edge is super, super sharp. Seeing the reflections. No micro bubbles. Let's look at this top. We have no variations in shade. We have no tension lines. Nothing whatsoever. Shade is incredibly even. We have the casting mark right there on the bottom. You can see how sharp that edge is. Everything down here, great. This front corner, and again, the most problematic part. But you can see by putting all the stretch horizontally, we solve a lot of these issues. So it's all about smart installation. I hope this helps you guys. This is our LightWrap dark smoke film. It is available now to shops and do-it-yourselfers, to everybody. We also have it in carbon fiber and other finishes. I don't know if the FX series, the carbon fiber and stuff, could tackle this light. I may have to do that here in the future. But because it has a laminate layer over the top, it does reduce its stretch just a little bit. So awesome, guys. Thanks for watching. John with Luxe, out.